Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Fi Addicts. Well, The Mandalorian is back and wow, was the first episode exciting. The first thing that occurred to me when watching this episode, when I was bringing up the menu on Disney Plus, is like, oh my God, it's 54 minutes, because I was so used to watching Mandalorian episodes from season 1 that were only kind of around 30 minutes running time. The first thing that hit me is like, wow, this is going to be a big first episode. And it did not disappoint. Filoni and Favreau have outdone themselves with this opening episode to season 2. Epic episode. Let's take a look. So for starters, I love the opening scene with the Mando in the sort of the sleazy kind of rundown town with the Gamorrean boxing arena. I'm not sure what planet he was on here, or they didn't kind of really say what planet was on. I thought it might have been Nar Shaddaa, but then that's just a speculation on my behalf. This opening scene was just right to kind of set up the story in terms of getting us back into the vibe again for the Mando. We had some good action between the Mando and the henchman of the one-eyed gentleman who has the information about where the other Mandalorians are that our main character is looking for. And we also had some good comedy moments too there with Baby Yoda hiding away in the pram when the Mando has to take out all of the henchmen using whistling birds. Now, a few people I know were a bit kind of skeptical when they kind of heard that we were returning to Tatooine yet again for the bulk of this episode. I was fine with the return to Tatooine. People are sort of saying, oh, I had enough of Tatooine, sick of Tatooine, let's look at some different planets. But to me, Tatooine is one of those planets in Star Wars that's been there since the beginning. It's an iconic Star Wars planet. It grounds the franchise in the Star Wars universe. So provided they don't go back to Tatooine multiple times this season, I'm totally cool with spending the episode on Tatooine. It was good to see Peli again, with Mando docking his ship in her hangar bay or whatever and doing some repairs while he went off to find his Mandalorian comrade. Amy Sedaris, good comedic actress, and I think, seeing her again was a nice little tie-in from season 1. And we pretty much assume at this point that the Mandalorian that Din Djarin is looking for is Boba Fett. Now, that assumption is confirmed when he meets the Marshal of Mos Pelgo. It was great to see a new town in Tatooine. At least I think it was a good thing that we didn't return to Mos Eisley and we didn't return to Mos Espa in the Tatooine location. I think it was good that they created this new town just to give things a little bit of a point of difference. It was great to see Timothy Olyphant as the Marshal of Mos Pelgo. I love Timothy Olyphant in both Deadwood and in Justified. Let's face it, the guy has made a whole career on playing marshals and sheriffs and so forth, and he adds another one to the list of his credits in this episode of Mandalorian. Another interesting side note is the Weequay proprietor of the bar on Mos Pelgo. He is played by W. Earl Brown, who was a co-star of Timothy Olyphant in Deadwood. Those of you who are fans of Deadwood would remember the role of Dan Dorothy, who was Swearengen's kind of right-hand man in the Deadwood series. So kind of cool to see him alongside Timothy Olyphant in this episode, the two, former Deadwood cast members. This episode certainly had a huge epic scale to it, mainly because of the quest to defeat the Krayt Dragon on Tatooine, which has been menacing the town of Mos Pelgo. It's been bothering the Sand People, it's been bothering the townspeople, and everybody has to team up to kind of bring it down. So it definitely feels like an epic, probably one of the most epic Star Wars monster battles. I think Star Wars is kind of renowned for every episode of Star Wars, they go up against a giant monster of some kind. It's kind of one of those Star Wars tropes that's kind of in every episode. But I got to say, the Krayt Dragon is something that we've heard about for quite some time, going back even to episode 4, A New Hope, when Obi-Wan Kenobi made the Krayt Dragon call to scare away the Sand People when they were raiding and looting Luke's landspeeder. So the mythos of the Krayt Dragon has been around way going back to the very first episode of Star Wars. So I love it in The Mandalorian when they take something like that we've heard about for ages. It's been referenced but never seen. And Filoni and Favreau are great at doing this, where they just take something that we all have heard about in Star Wars before, but never seen it, and then bring it to life in, well, let's face it, this episode was a pretty epic scale. And the takedown of this creature by the army of combined sand people and townspeople from Mos Pelgo, pretty epic battle. And particularly, look, it was seeing Timothy Olyphant don the Boba Fett armor. We obviously kind of knew that the armor that he had was going to be, scavenged from Jawas or something, i.e., they've got it out the back end of a Sarlacc when it spewed out Boba Fett. And it's great to see that armor being put to good use by Timothy Olyphant's character, how it all works with the little drop-down sight thing for the rocket pack and, some flashbacks where he took out the town of mining bandits or whatever it was when the second Death Star was destroyed. All these little bits and pieces that Favreau and Filoni love to throw into these Mandalorian episodes just to give us little glimpses of things we've seen or heard about so many times before in Star Wars, but maybe have not seen in action before. And I got to say, as a fan, I love those moments. In some ways, there was a bit of a hark back to Jaws in this episode, in the sense of, the townspeople gathering together. You've got the thing coming through the sand like Jaws through the water, Mandalorian and the Marshal working together to use explosives to try to get the creature to swallow it so they can blow it up. There was a few little interesting parallels to Jaws in this, which I thought was really kind of a cute little nod of the hat. And much like our appearance of Baby Yoda at the end of the first episode of Season 1, the end of the first episode of Season 2 gives us an equally amazing little nugget of wow factor in the form of Boba Fett. He's obviously lost his armor to the Jawas. He's just wearing a kind of what looks like a kind of an oversized Jawa outfit minus the hoodie. He's got a gaffy stick from a sand person and a rifle, but he turns around and unmistakably Temuera Morrison reprising his role as a Fett. Obviously, the last time we saw him was playing Jango Fett in episode 2, and also obviously various different clone troopers in the prequel trilogy, but great to see him back on screen as Boba Fett in this episode of The Mandalorian. And he's about age appropriate too, where it's set in the timeline and everything. I think in terms of what his age would be, it's about accurate in terms of what he should be. So great to see him pop up in this episode. I hope they do more with the character in forthcoming episodes this season, and they don't just make it a little one-time thing. But obviously, there was this goes back to that little tease we got in the episode of I think it's episode 5 of season 1 of Mandalorian, after Fennec Shand had been taken out or whatever, and Mandalorian left Tatooine on the first time. We saw the spurred boots and so forth walking up to the body or whatever, and there was a bit of speculation as to, who's this shadowy figure? Well, I don't think there can be any question about that anymore, and that was in fact Boba Fett. So great to see that little bit of tease has paid off in this episode. I really hope that in future episodes of Mandalorian this season, they're going to be equally as epic. Obviously, they've raised the bar to a certain level in episode 1 and said, hey, we're doing 50-minute plus episodes now. I hope this continues. I hope they don't drop back to 30-minute episodes again, like some of the episodes in season 1, because let's face it, it's a short season. There are only 8 episodes in these seasons of The Mandalorian. So I think if you're going to have a short season, at least give us a nice meaty story with lots of content in terms of episode runtime. So hopefully that continues in future episodes. So now that Din Djarin has the Boba Fett armor, what is he going to do with it? What is he going to melt it down and make more bits and pieces for his own armor, or is he going to return it to Mandalore and put it in the hands of maybe the armorist? Gave him his armor upgrades and say, "Oh, this is very special Mando armor. You put it up on the shelf, in pride of place somewhere." Or let's wait and see how that plays out. But what did you guys think of this first episode of Mandalorian season 2? I loved it. Fantastic. Love what Filoni and Favreau are doing with the Star Wars franchise. Wasn't a huge fan of the Star Wars movies under J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. But Filoni and Favreau, bing bing, gets 2 thumbs up for me in this series. And hopefully the rest of season 2 does not disappoint. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to check out my merchandise Patreon page, all that sort of thing. It really helps the channel out. And I'll catch you guys next time.